And we're joined by another member of that 12-13 Clark Cup championship team, a member that didn't play the entire season with the team, but joined them later on in the year. It's Karson Kuhlman, a forward for the Boston Bruins right now. And Karson, first and foremost, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Always great talking about that championship run.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked to a lot of players about the run. And the first question I asked them was, how early on in that season did you know something special was brewing? And we can't really ask you that question because you came in well along the path of knowing that something special was going on. But when you found out you were joining the team and saw what they had already done already, what was your mentality going in knowing how much they had already accomplished?
Yeah, it was great. So I played high school hockey in my hometown in Minnesota that year, and then was fortunate enough to join the team in about March, I think, and obviously was drafted by them. So I followed along on how they were doing all season, and every time I checked scores, it seemed like they were blowing a team out. So obviously I knew that they had a special group down there, and just to join them, I just basically wanted to keep it rolling.
When you came into the team as one of the younger guys, who were a couple of the first players that you really talked to that kind of brought you in to be part of the group?
Yeah, we had a pretty great group of younger guys. Guys like Seamus Malone went on to play at Wisconsin. Dylan Gambrell playing on the West Coast right now, and Keegan Ford. So we were kind of the younger guys in that group. So we stuck together quite a bit.
I heard a lot about that year in the practices, how intense those practices were. Essentially, that was maybe some of the even tougher than games at some point. What do you remember about those practices, the way Monty and Coombs rode those practices and just how you competed?
Yeah, you said it. I think everybody was so competitive in that group, and that's what really pushed practices to be high intensity. And Monty really did a great job of if we were sharp and intense, we didn't have to be out there too long. So it was a good mix, and obviously it was the right recipe for that group.
What was your goal coming into the team? Because obviously, as you said, you're a younger player. They've already accomplished so much. So what was your goal? Did you just try to keep it really, really simple, or what were you trying to accomplish coming in?
Yeah, exactly. I think it took me a little bit to adjust, especially right away. I mean, everybody was kind of mid to late season, and I was just kind of stepping into the next level. So it took me a bit to adjust. But then after that, I just wanted to do whatever I could to help the team win. Obviously, they had a ton of scoring, good on the back end. So I just tried to slot myself in there and play a good 200-foot game.
As the regular season's coming to an end, with about 4 games left, the team clinches the Anderson Cup, the best regular season record. You're close to records such as most wins in a single season for a team, most points, win the Cowbell Cup, which is that competition between Dubuque Waterloo and Cedar Rapids. As you continue to get these accolades, team and individually, as the season progresses, what was the buildup like? What did you feel like from the fans going into the playoffs? How much hype was there around that team?
Yeah, the city really got behind us. That was pretty cool to experience. I mean, a couple billboards around town, and seeing people saying good luck to us when we're out at dinner and whatnot. So it was a pretty cool time that spring in Dubuque for sure.
Going into that first playoff series against Muskegon, was there added pressure for you guys knowing that you've already accomplished so much in the regular season, but now the slate is clean and you suddenly have the biggest target on your back?
Yeah, I think we kind of had a target on our back the whole season. I think other teams knew when we were coming into their building that we were kind of a pace setter for a lot of teams, just kind of gauge where they were in the league. So I think we were kind of used to that. So and on top of that, we had a great group of older guys that had kind of been around for a long period of time and kind of knew what it took to win. So they really drove the bus for us for sure.
Individually for you, a pretty solid playoff, especially considering you came in with only about 15 games left in the regular season. You had 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 total points. What do you remember about the way you felt about your play in that playoffs?
Yeah, I remember. I think I got my first USHL goal the very last game in Des Moines. So it took me a while. So to see that first one go in really helped my confidence. I think as a line, I was playing with Frankie DiChiara and Shane Sooth, 2 older guys that put up a ton of points in the league. So to be slotted in with them was great for me. I really tried to just help them and get them the puck as much as I could, and was fortunate enough to put them in the back of the net as well.
You guys took care of business on home ice in the playoffs. You won all 6 games that you played, or excuse me, 7 games that you played on home ice in Dubuque. What was that atmosphere like, first round, second round, and then third round?
Oh, it was wild the whole time. Loud. We got the steel roof obviously there, so it just echoes, and it was a lot of fun seeing the whole city get behind us.
Sweep of Muskegon in the first round, up 2-0 against Youngstown. And then really the first hiccup, not just in the playoffs, but almost the entire season. I mean, losing 2 games in a row was uncommon for this team. So when you lose both in Youngstown and you have that long bus ride back to reflect on those couple games, what was the mentality and the feel on that bus ride back to Dubuque?
Yeah, I think initially we were pretty dejected. I mean, we knew how good our team was, but give Youngstown a lot of credit. They played hard in their building, but at the same time, we knew we were coming home. We knew how good that we've been at home all season, so it was a confident group, even though we were kind of on the ropes like that.
You've played on multiple championship teams, not just in Dubuque, but then when you went and played for Minnesota Duluth as well. What is it about a championship team? What are a couple characteristics that you feel like it has to have to be successful?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think both at Minnesota Duluth and Dubuque, I think it was a confident group. I think guys expected a lot out of themselves and everybody else in that locker room, and like you said, in practice, everybody was pushing themselves. A level of competition was definitely important in both places.
And how much does the experience factor also play into that? And maybe especially in the USHL level when guys are so young that second year makes a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. I think our veteran group, starting honestly at the coaches with Coombsy and Monty, was great with us younger guys and guys that had kind of been there for the first time. So they helped out a lot.
Diving into the final against Fargo, talking to a couple guys, they said once you overcame that challenge with Youngstown, it wasn't a cockiness, but really the feeling was that if you could beat Youngstown, you were going to beat anyone else that stood in your way in the Clark Cup. Do you remember that same mentality?
Yeah, I think getting past Youngstown in that final game was a huge step for us. Like I said, we were just such a confident group going into that final series. But I think the confidence never really crossed the line. We knew what we had to do, and we knew Fargo had a great team. A lot of good players ended up on that team, so it was a lot of fun, the atmosphere going in that final round.
Everyone I've talked to has talked about the closeness of the 12-13 group and how tight-knit of a team it was. And one of the moments I think that symbolizes that best is an impromptu pool party right before the final game in Fargo. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, you know what? That every time I'll be at a hotel and see a pool, I'll get a chuckle every once in a while thinking about that. But I think we were having a team meeting in Fargo, kind of at a poolside room, banquet room, and I just remember everybody kind of getting fired up that we were 1 game away and that close to clinching it. So I think all it took was one guy to jump in. It might have been Monty. It might have been one of our captains. So all it took was one guy, and then everybody, next thing you know, was hopping in.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many fans have seen anything, pictures or videos from that, but the broadcaster from that team, Zach Fish, actually took a video and he just sends it to me. So we're going to be able to post that on social media for fans to see. But I feel like that's one of those long lost stories that gets told again. It's such a great story for a championship team that not many people would know.
Exactly. I feel like every good championship run has a few of those stories. So that's definitely one of them.
And not every championship run ends the way your championship run did. I mean, if you're writing a Hollywood script, it ends with a golden goal in overtime to clinch a championship. And that's exactly what happened. When you saw the puck, if you did see the puck go in the net in Fargo, what do you remember about the moments leading up to that goal and then directly after it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that game was back and forth. I think we went up goal and they just kept fighting. They were a good team, like I said, and so the puck was rushed up the ice and our line was created a turnover, got swept up the ice quick. I think Shane and Frankie had made that play a few times during the year, and Frankie was known for scoring a few big goals, and was able to put it away. So it was a great ending to it.
And just to put a bow on everything, and again, Karson, thanks for doing this, and we'll talk to you again in a couple of days with the fans involved as well. But to put a bow on everything, to have all that hard work, all the goals that the team set out at the beginning of the year come to fruition in the way that it did at the end, what did that championship mean to you, the coaching staff, the organization, and obviously the city as well?
Yeah, it was awesome. That was the first championship that I've won as in my hockey career. So it was pretty special, especially joining those guys late in the season. They all accepted me so much and really helped me along in my hockey career. And I look back to that couple months and that run that we had with a lot of good memories for sure.
Yeah, well, a championship team that'll forever be etched in Dubuque's history, and one of the best teams maybe of all time in the USHL. Karson Kuhlman, thanks for taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.